Hi everyone, welcome to Pep Talk Series 5, brought to you from S-Rays. S-Rays is an HR outsourcing company which provides various certifications and HR outsourcing work for all corporates, startups, and also mid-scale organization. Just log into the social media www.srays.in and other social media pages like Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn as well. And myself, Shivakripa Rajaram here, people architect and HR professional, software engineer turned HR professional. And here we have Vijay Kumar, a very experienced person. Hi Vijay. 30 years of experience. So I'm sure he would have worked with Gen X, Gen Y, and probably with Gen Z also. So we have a very interesting topic today. So most of the focus in the last four PEP series were on employee engagement and learning and development, etc. Today we are just with his experience. He's going to share some knowledge and a lot of interesting facts on how one organization can be an employer of choice. Nowadays, attrition is a very big problem, and it's very difficult to retain resources. And everybody are looking out for different factors to work in an organization. So about Mr. Vijay Kumar comes with 30 years of HR experience, and he was mostly into the pharma industry, chemical, and auto and engineering sectors. So he's currently associated with ChemFab Group, and he's a group CHRO for ChemFab Group. And prior to ChemFab, he was working with Strides Pharma, and he was working with Pfizer Pharma, Rani, Borg Warner, and Amera Raja Batteries. So, in 30 years of experience, he had opportunities to play constructive roles in various verticals. Could be talent management, culture, engagement, organization, redesign, and digitalization as well. As I always say, data and digital is the new oil, and I'm sure he has immense things to share in the strategic integrations and ER and IR as well. So he also served ISTD Chennai chapter as NC for 2 terms in the past and has been honorary secretary for NHRDN Chennai chapter for a short stint. He's very passionate about launching career expeditions with fast trackers, and also he has his key accreditations as ICF coach, assessment and development center, competency mapping, leading change, and MBTA personality, Belbin, and NLP certified, and also he's a certified SHRM SCP. Very warm welcome, Vijay, for the
Thank you.
like.
Thank you,
I
too.
think yes, yes. So 30 years of experience, I think, we had around 5 minutes of introduction. I'm sure you have a lot of things to share. So I'm just putting the light on you. So can you just brief about why you took HR 30 years back? HR is something, I think they used to call it as a personal department, right? Like way back. So just wanted to know how your HR career started before we just start out with the questions.
Yeah, to be very honest, those were the days, no, the marketing used to be number one for any business management student, and finance, of course, the finance was the option for those who are very fascinated about finance. So I don't know, by personality, I thought that I can fit into HR, and it's an option only. I don't want to claim that no, I had dreams, etc. No, absolutely no.
Okay. Okay.
And the first interaction I had was with a sugar factory, that too with workers. Sugar factory is highly, the labor intense. And somehow I thought that no, we can be of some support to them. That's it. And that moment I decided that okay, okay, I'll have a very long journey with this space. That's how it all started. And it was the second best option. Everybody in those days, 30 years ago, had a very high dreams of getting into marketing and market professionals, becoming market professionals. And those were the days, no digitization. The marketing uh, subject matter expert used to be in front of the client and influencing. Influencing was the biggest unique selling proposition in those days. So that's how it all happened. It's very simple and straightforward. I don't think that I had a very great dream of becoming HR professional. After joining the profession, then I started realizing that yes, I'm in the right space. I'm on the right track. The realization happened only after jumping into the stream.
That's interesting. So So, you have 30 years of experience. Most of the less than the average age of the workforce now. So, I'm sure you would have worked with Gen X and Gen Y, and now we have Gen Z also in the workplace. So, how do you see that the industry has evolved?
See, there is no uniform evolution, I would say. In a given industry, it all depends the leadership's vision. I know some of the best of the industries that have not yet scaled up to embrace all the generations. That's reality, ground reality. We may not like to speak it up openly, but that's the reality. And because of some of the, what should I say, the unique plus factors or strengths, those industries or those companies are doing great. But maybe after some time, obviously, there will be a setback. At the same time, there are mediocre industries just because of the leadership vision or the visionary or highly inspiring leadership. They have embraced all the generations into it and made a difference in the market. There is no one straight answer, but I see that it all depends or in the hands of the leader, how the leader wants to drive the organization, navigate the organization towards. Mm, it's a mix and match. It's a mix and match. And one thing I would like to emphasize here, it will be very, very healthy if an organization is so determined to engage all generations. Somebody, like Gen X like me or Y as well as Gen Z. Every generation has its own strengths. Of course, every generation has its own areas where there is a scope for improvement. And take my case, I can't be so handy in playing with the modern tools and techniques, the digitization era. At the best, I can suggest the designer of digitalization in 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 visualizing what could be the features. Okay, putting hands and designing is the job. I think the next generation, my next generation, and generation to that, next to that, has the skills and competency in that. So therefore, the leader will have to have the very balanced, approach in mixing all the generations together and get it on.
That's so generous of you. So, to the most of the problem employees face with the Gen X leaders, or leaders who are in the organization for a long time, is they will not let uh, implement the ideas of Gen Y and Gen Z. That's a common problem, and most of the Gen Y evolving leaders or mid-level. Executives or leaders lead the organization, so that's also mostly there in the attrition report. So that's very generous of you to let the next generation of you to design the redesign the upcoming techniques or tools or whatever. And Vijay, like according to you, so you've been talking about leadership, in fact, change leadership to quote more precisely. So, as a leader, what are the three things you think they should definitely owe? Three things, three main things.
Okay, the leader should be a visionary, I would say, unless you have a vision. I- your question is what a leader should owe three things. What are the three things the leader should owe, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
The leader should have vision for next 15 years or 20 years to lead the organization, number one. Number two, the leader should have the courage of conviction to upgrade the growth engine or capability engine inside the organization. So it's very simple to put it, but it takes a lot. The third is leader should have the, what should I say, wherewithal to take risk. And when it comes to risk taking, the due credit should be given to the army, the battalion who contributes towards the end results. These are the three things I would look. One is you have to be a great visionary. Second is you have to have a very, very courage of conviction to repair and mend or upgrade the growth engine or capability engine. So in the process of refurbishing the capability engine, you'll have to throw a few parts and fit the new parts. or sometimes you'll have to replace the engine itself. The third is no risk taking. Obviously, the new gen will not join you unless you are not seem to be taking risk. It's very clear. So, what should I say? When you know that a given army, a particular army is a risk taking army, then there will be a huge QB in front of the gate to join the army. When the youngsters know that the army is very lethargic, and when you go in, you'll be killed very soon, much before you reach the battlefield. You will not find any queue in front of the regiment's gate. It's very simple.
Okay, okay, noted. So, what is it to be like an employer of choice to you? Like, I know you have a vast experience. There would have been things that would have changed as it evolved, but there will be certain things definitely that will be expected on a whole
Absolutely.
without
Employer of child. Okay.
employer of
I would
choice.
say we may not like to say with much more emphasis. Yet I wish to say this: the security is choice number one. Though many people may not want to say. Of course, the Gen Z has different views. Half of them do not want to have a secured job, but at least half. All Gen Z are not going to do wonders. Obviously, I've been interviewing a lot many Gen Zs, and many people are in a position where they need to scale up a little more or far more to reach the standards that the market expects from a Gen Z. That's the reality. Security is one thing. Job security is one thing. When I started my career 30 years ago, maybe my previous generation, it has been security. The security has been two-thirds of the whole basket. Okay, to call somebody as choice of employer. Even now, it has got its own share, especially post-COVID. The security had been again, it regained its front seat. Okay, we all know that no many employers would have laid off or reduced the salary by half. Many would have generously re-employed the laid off no colleagues, and many people would have repaid the salaries. But there are a few organizations which that took this opportunity as an opportunity by not re-employing the laid-off people, by not paying back the dues. That's the reality. So therefore, the security again took some amount of prominent seat now. It's not the front seat, definitely not the front seat, prominent seat. Number two is you have to uh, you have to create visibility of your commitment to provide career opportunities inside. And two-thirds of the population today in industry are below 30, if not below 30, 35 below. And unless you have a career growth path, a very generic career growth map offered to your younger generation, and of course the mid-level, the middle-aged generation, people may not get so fascinated or excited to join the organization. So therefore, career growth opportunities number two. And number three, it's very tangible nowadays to see whether you have been growing or you are going to grow. The growth plans. Growth plans are the third factors. And fourth is no. If someone works in an organization, they are contacted by other prospect employees. And if the individual goes and tells that no, they have old policies, old systems, and there is no computerization, we are working on Excels. That's it. The word of mouth will go and will reach another 100, 200. So therefore, you have to straighten up the internal processes and policies. Um, in the process, yes, of course, digitalization and elimination of non-valued activities, all that will be part of it. And another important factor is have a very strong culture blueprint and drive it and make people believe. It's not make believing and believe in it. The leader should believe in the culture blueprint and drive the culture blueprint. When I say culture blueprint, very meaningful thing, something like uh, we give prominence for innovation. This is a place to uh, promote innovation, or uh, uh, we are so committed to. I come from the pharma background, so let me take examples. In our cultural blueprint, we had about 4 5 very bold statements. We used to call those statements as bold statements. One such bold statement was make all the vaccines across the world at reaching the needy patients or needy citizens at an affordable price. So some of the African countries today has no affordability to buy vaccines. The governments do not have the affordability for some of the countries to buy the vaccines and provide to their citizens. So therefore, that's one bold statement. To achieve that, then again, you'll have to keep telling stories across the line, down the line, that what should you do to achieve that. You have to do a lot of discovery, innovation, and you'll have to be to make a vaccine affordable. You'll have to control costs a lot. To control costs a lot, there is a series of activities that you'll have to adopt. The first thing is operational excellence. Then second thing is the productivity. The third is no the employee. An employee has to shoulder additional stretched activities. Okay, one such bold statement happened to be speed or agility, what you call. So, which calls for every individual to re-engineer the raw job of self as well as the job of the neighbors, and tell the leadership that okay, we can cut the process here, we can reduce the time here, on and on and on. These are a couple of bold statements. I just placing as an example. So, in the same fashion, you have to have a very strong, no, meaningful vision, in the form of statements, in the form of practice. I think you have to put it in the practice. It should be properly communicated, and people should believe that the leaders in the hierarchy are onto it, doing it, practicing it. And another thing I would say that let me come to the welfare piece. These are all the wonderful things. Another piece is the people, highly talented people will move out unless you don't have a well versed or a very robust talent management system. Okay. And in absence of strong talent management system, what will happen? The people will have to look at their managers. They have to live under the mercy of the managers. So that should not be the case. A robust talent management system will take care of the key performers, will take care of the critical performers, will take care of the solid soldiers, and will take care of those who are emerging, and will also take care of those who got transition from one level to another level. So this will offer absolute confidence, and this will give lots of guarantees to all buckets of talents. I would say that in an organization you will have a mix of everybody, largely solid soldiers, 50 to 60%. Even they should have the guarantees as far as their career growth is concerned. That's also very important. And key talents and critical talents should get very tangible and well planned assurances as far as their growth is concerned. So then only they can heartfully be with the growth story of any organization. And coming to another piece, the open talk and two-way communication, something like be open to feedback, something like town halls.
Hmm.
I was witness in many of the organizations. Even I worked, we call town halls. It will be a one-way thing. If somebody asks the questions, will always the leader will say that, let me take it off track, let me take it offline. Okay, at the same time, I also witnessed some of the town halls where the questions were very intimidating, very embarrassing. In one
True.
occasion, sometime some 10 years ago, there was a technician, the machine operator asked, okay, if the PPT is going down and down, what you are doing? So you are meant for this, you are meant for that, and your salary is 10 times to the top of my salary, blah, 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 blah. So this because I don't want to buy your arguments. That's the trust. So we should not go back, or we should not drop conducting town halls or run away from the town halls. This kind of incidents, if somebody makes a cranky statement and there are 20 people around to clap, give talia. So these are the indicators that people don't trust you. So you have to do some more work on building the trust. That's the only solution rather than running away. So I mean, two-way communication. And again, I want to quote a couple of examples where I came from automotive component as well as pharma. Even the minutest information that hushed up under the carpet would cost the entire business for the entire month, if not month, maybe a week or a complete batch gone. So therefore, speaking up. In fact, in a pharma company where I worked very recently, the speaking up itself happened to be a big program, right? this is one wonderful anchor for an employer to showcase as employer of choice. And finally, the total well-being and very safe work environment and psychological contract. Okay, if I stretch up to 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock for a week, always I expect you to give some leverage when I'm late. So you should not be clocking one side and you should not be ignoring my another clocking. Okay, right? And if I take additional responsibility, I expect something. Psychological contract. This is very old theory, some 30, 40 year old theory. Yet it's slowly coming into place, especially during pandemic. I know that I have been through wave one, wave two. We hit maximum production again in a pharma company where I worked. But many people stretched, many people slogged, many people took personal risk, many people put their families in risk, especially the HR, the frontline supervisors, the medical staff. But they were expecting that no, there will be something in return, psychological contract. There is a fire accident in your setup, psychological contract. And your organization's crisis, everybody jumped off and ran. And there are a few solid soldiers, they stayed with you. And maybe after 5 years, when the organization turns around or accelerates its growth, you have to give prominence. I knew in an organization where uh, a very fine gentleman, a scientist, I would say that, and he has been GM operations. So after 10, 12 years, things got changed. A lot of products added to the company's portfolio. New technology came in, and new collaboration came in, and this gentleman couldn't really grow along with the accelerated ladder. So new generation came in. Yet the organization didn't offload the individual. The individual had his own strengths, and he has been very strong in quality. He came from the aeronautics background, and he has been assigned the job of heading the entire quality systems, heading the uh, what should I say, all the operational excellence, the entire operational excellence framework, and going and chasing the best in class certifications, awards, and rewards. Of course, initially it was little difficult for the individual to digest this, but after 3 4 years he got accustomed to that and he started enjoying. So therefore, no, you should never discard the solid soldiers who have been with you through the difficult times. So these are the things that a common employee who's in the market, I mean, a prospect employee will watch for, and your inmate also will go and propagate outside. The final point I would like to say that no, though many companies do 2,000 crores, 3,000 crores, 5,000 crores turnover, the digitalization in many organizations is not considered as a very prominent factor to drive the business. Even today, that's very pathetic. And again, I've been the witness. The salary is partially ran in Excel sheet, and your R&R ran on Excel sheet, and you have small pockets of software to operate multiple people manage people in interventions. Very pathetic, and you should come out of all that, and it doesn't cost much. Maybe 10 12 years ago, the digitalization happened to be a very expensive thing, a public sector kind of budget. The budget used to be something very close to the public sector budget. Now it's very cheaper. You have multiple options. So unless you are you are all set to go for digitalization, you cannot attract talent. You can never attract talent because nowadays even the kid feels it very. Even the kid at home, some 6 7 year old kid feels that it's waste of time to go through the newspaper and search for the news that you want. It wants to just go through the mobile and spot the right news, thereby saving some 3 minutes or 10 seconds, whatever it might be. The generation is so keen to save a few seconds and finish off the thing and jump onto something else and again save a few seconds. So that is the reason why this Gen Z is able to switch from track to track, unlike the previous generations, who used to take one agenda a day or one agenda per session or one agenda per hour. Those things are gone, and we have to squeeze time from jump from bucket to bucket, bucket to bucket, and move on. So unless the employer is so determined and offering all this, it's very difficult for any employer to stay fit to be a EOC employer of choice. This is my maybe short answer or long answer.
Okay, okay. So I've also covered the key aspects of what if you want to be an employer of choice. That's great. That's great. A lot of inputs. So why do you think it is important to be an employer of choice? So like we saw like what is it to be like employer of choice? Why it is important?
Okay, why is it's a survival tactics? I would say that no. Fine. Every organization, I'll go back to the Michael Watkins concept. Like so any organization will live in any of these five situations: ST or STARS. Either it could be a startup organization or a turnaround organization or an organization that's craving for accelerated growth or an organization that's struggling to realign itself or an organization that's happy to sustain the existing or struggling to sustain with whatever it is that it has today, the sustained growth. Sustained, you have to what should I say, when you reach a peak and beyond a point, you'll have to ensure that you are sustaining at least. Best example is Maruti, 55% of market share for past 10 years or 12 years or 13 years. It never allowed it to come
Okay.
down to 55, 55, 56, 52. So it's sustained growth, I would say. Even to ensure the sustained growth, how many designs Maruti introduced. So similarly, even for uh, you have to first identify which situation you are living, which situation your organization is navigating today. If it is a startup, obviously you have to attract a few veterans. You'll have to attract the best of the fast trackers, and you'll have to attract a good number of people on off roles. You'll have to attract consultants, obviously. Turnaround, you'll have to attract the leaders who have proven in turning around many organizations. You have to bring them from the success story spaces, and you'll have to uh, convince your existing lot to swallow the pain of losing some of their colleagues sooner. And in a turnaround setup, in a turnaround situation, a common colleague will be ready to extend all the cooperations because the common colleague is looking for some help hand to bring the organization back onto the track. So therefore, it's a little easy. However, you have to do a lot. In accelerated growth, obviously, you will have to hire the right hands, not the wrong hands. If you hire wrong hands, the acceleration will never happen. It will go and get plummeted at some point in time. And in realignment, when you commit mistakes, then you realize, then you want to know repair those mistakes and get yourself straightened. For example, if an organization is going a little off its core competency and starting off with some other product or some other territory and burns fingers, so there comes the issue. Then the organization will have to uh, convince itself to come back to the core competency. The best example is Amitabh Bachchan. He started off with his business and again came back to acting, right? So after for past 20 years, what we are seeing is again very glorified and well-respected actor. And before 20 years, there was this span of 10 years, where he was not seen on the screen and he has been trying his bit in businesses. So similarly, that's the realignment stage. So even in realignment stage, you have to attract talent from the market.
Mm.
And even in a sustained growth stage, the best example is Maruti. You have to attract the talent because sustenance is not that easy unless you show different models. You have to keep upgrading your existing things also. Even if you are selling a broomstick, it needs to be sold in different colors and fashions and different sizes, and you have to use different models from time to time. You can't use the same model to sell the broomstick. So therefore, even sustenance also is a big challenge. So I would say we cannot rule out or we cannot imagine any organization that lives out of any of these five situations. So therefore, you have to be employer of choice.
Okay. So I think there are participants who are watching, and participants would be watching post we go live in the YouTube. So what are the three parameters one should consider before joining an organization?
Okay. I have no hesitation in saying again and again security. Okay.
Okay.
And if I were the job seeker, I would look at security, a decent security. When I say security, it's not that giving security to my job alone, giving secured sustenance for the organization alone for next 5 years or 6 years,
Mm.
maximum 10 years. We can't imagine beyond that in current scenario. Number two, if the organization has the capability to grow, it's give growth to itself in the process, everybody grows. The capability to grow, does it have the right growth engine in it? Two. Three is career opportunity and pay. Pay, what should I say? Pay for the performance. To put it very simple, is the organization paying for the performance? That's it. One is security. Two is, does it have the growth engine, a well-running growth engine? Third is the organization is something that will pay for performance. That's it. That's what I look if I were a job seeker.
Okay. Okay. So pre-COVID and post-COVID, many things have changed a lot. So here, in the post-COVID times, I mean, what is the difference between the pre-COVID and post-COVID to be an EOC, or what is it? Uh, a thing that has changed in running the organization.
Um, yes, the huge organizations survived the post-COVID. The big organizations, because of its financial strengths, they survived, and some of the mid-level organizations, yes or no, survived or made use of this opportunity to save a few bucks and penalize the employees. The small-scale industries suffered a lot. So my observation has been many people who have not acquired the new skills and who are so reluctant uh, to acquire the life skills. I would say the corporate life skills, the skills that I don't know today. I have to know. I have to acquire those skills. If I'm so good in one thing and I can't be so happy that I will live by optimizing that skill forever. So many colleagues know who can't do an alternate job and they got laid off. They suffered, and many organizations that didn't have financial strength suffered, and many organizations which laid off but partially did reinstate it, partially repaid the cut down salary, lost its reputation. The lesson has been, I would say, that for employers, the lesson has been for employers, be prepared for such pandemics in future and keep some financial reserves. Number one. Number two, push hard your employees to acquire new skills, the freelancing skills, especially the frontline people, the working, the operating category, as well as the frontline supervisors. Number three, maximize the well-being benefits. Somehow push them to accept for the family benefits, well-being benefits. For employees, the lessons what employees learned, the our age old, our age old, the rule, the domestic rule has been save some money for future. So for past 20-25 years now, we lost saving money. We were only spending before we saving. We were spending, then we started paying. We started some 20-25 years ago. So the lesson is that, no, please save some money for bad days, and take care of your insurances. Don't think that your employer, all along now we have been proudly saying that, no, my employer is to take care of my insurance and I have family coverage, I have lifetime, on and on and on. No, even I know many organizations are rethinking if they can cut down the lifetime, what is it, the sum assured, if they can redo the sum assured, because the premiums have gone up. The premiums have gone up by 70, 80% now post pandemic. Every insurance company started raising their premium prices because of claims, huge claims.
Mm,
And COVID or non-COVID people started thronging the hospitals and claiming the bills left and right and center. And therefore, safeguard yourselves, employees, safeguard yourselves, and mid and small employers regain the reputation and safeguard yourselves and give assurances to your employees. Of course, the big organizations, I don't need to say anything. They have the strengths and muscles to take care of themselves as well as their employees. But I would say um, the post-pandemic scenario, there is no big change in it. Um, the one thing I would like to emphasize post-pandemic scenario is uh, try to, okay, it may be against the employment policies of many of the corporates. Try to provide employment for spouse also, right? Family employment. If you are
mm,
so huge and big, I know that MSMEs can do this. Huge
mm,
organizations can do this, and the
mm.
mid-range organizations cannot do because of the self-imposed policies and procedures. At least MSMEs and huge organizations can offer no employment to other family members. Otherwise, we don't know how many pandemics. I'm not pessimistic. I'm not sounding pessimistic. We don't know what will happen in coming days. But otherwise, things are coming back to normalcy, and we taught lots of lessons. As I rightly said, we started learning the lesson as to how to save, and especially people like me and youngsters. I have no clue about them. That's all I wanted to say about pandemic,
Okay.
post-pandemic.
Okay. So, employee relationship model, I mean, the new employment relationship model post COVID. Can you just throw some light on that for us?
Okay, there has been change in. It's been slowly changing. The MD on 2-year contract. It all started at that level. MDs on 2-year contract, vice presidents on 3-year contract. It all started some 10, 12 years ago. And one of the organizations where I worked, the MD was on 5-year contract, and some other MD succeeded, and he was also on 4-year contract. One thing I would say that this generation, the young Gen Z, wish to dedicate some quality time for their passionate work, passionate job. Okay, if I was a child, no, who had very free hand, good free hand, I always try to kill that free hand and focus on my academics. Okay, if I had a flair to do some electrical, no wiring, and some grandmother or grandfather used to shout at me and say that, do you want to be, would you like to be an electrician, or would you like to be a collector, or would you like to be an engineer? So we used to kill, the previous generation used to kill and bury its passion. Now that's not the case. So younger generation won't mind taking up a 4-hour job or a 3-day week job, 4-day week job. So the organizations will have to design the jobs in such a way that the jobs are okay to be attended on for 3 days in a week or 4 days in a week or 4 hours per day. That is one thing. And many of the veterans are also wanting to come back to work, if not on full-time basis, half a day. Many of the veterans, and I knew many quality inspectors to be at the ground level, and many the TQM and TPM no consultants who have been the experts who have been experts in their own industry, and they're okay to join some industry for 4 hours a day. So therefore, the employment cannot be for everyone. Every role cannot be 8 hours and 6 days or 5 days per week, 26 days a month kind of thing. So organizations will have to do a lot of exercise and try to have no multiple options, multiple models in terms of options. And some 5 6 years ago, when we were talking about gig economy, people were laughing at it. Actually, in one of the conferences, somebody was talking about gig. Some uh, elderly person stood up and said, "Gig, what is this? No, no, don't say all that. Don't throw people out of employment. Don't do injustice, and don't be non-patriarchal. Blah blah." So now people are not ready to do 6-day job, 5-day job. At least I can say that people below 45, given an opportunity, they're okay for reduced salary to be with the organization for 4 days, and the remaining 2 days they want to live their life. That's it. So days will come, maybe in another 5 years, we are going to witness this kind of arrangement.
Very interesting, and something I'm hearing for the first time now. And yeah,
For example, no, I was trying to hire an executive assistant to chairman and gave all the comfort. I told him, boss, you have two officers, three officers, you can take this, take that. But that fellow was very particular and said, sir, will you leave me post lunch after Friday? I said, no, no, you have to be fully. No, no, I have my tennis practice. So the individual was ready to forego a 30% hike and an opportunity to stay close to the seat of the power just for want of no being in his tennis court for 4 hours or 4 or 5 hours on every Friday. That's it. So things are changing. Things are changing. And they don't mind. They don't mind losing an opportunity with Reliance or losing opportunity with Pfizer or a Tata or Ashok Leyland. They don't care about it. Yeah.
very interesting. So you were talking about security as one major thing, that could be important to be an employer of choice, good pay, and now you were also quoting about flexi working, and previously at the start of the session you were quoting about branding. Apart from these, what are all the aspects that makes a company look attractive for Gen Y and Gen Z people?
I think I covered most of the things. And apart from that, okay, one one thing, one missing thing I could see nowadays is the organizational memory. Many organizations do not have a mechanism to store its memory. When I say organizational memory, it's simple knowledge management. A few years ago, people are staying in an organization for at least for a span of 5 years, and there used to be a proper handing over, taking over, and knowledge download, and there used to be some knowledge repository. Now it's not there. The KM, the very strong knowledge management framework, can be an attractive factor for a newcomer in most of the occasions. In two-thirds of the occasions, when the newcomer is in, the predecessor would have been out by the time. So that being the reality, the KM portal can be of very great help. Number one. Number two, mm, I think I covered mostly what's there. Another thing is access to information, right? Access to information and irrespective of generation, people would like to have a chair in in Apex meetings, even as a spectator. And people hate to be put in dark, and people do not like if access to information is denied. I think legitimate information. I mean, legitimate information. So these are the other two factors I would say that that we need to take care. And branding, of course, what you do is you need to know the knack of showcasing it to the outer world. What you do, there are multiple opportunities. I think, given the electronic
Mm,
platforms,
mm,
you can showcase whatever you do in a very elegant way to the outer world. And CSR, unless the community around you is well connected,
mm,
and in no time you will gain a bad reputation, and which may even reach the prospect employees and will hamper the opportunities for you to acquire the best of the talents from the market. These are the some of the things I would say that and learning opportunities. I think I mentioned it already. The learning opportunities, unless the
yes.
organization offers the learning opportunities, abundant learning opportunities, we cannot attract. And a seat in decision making table, the biggest thing. If I have the talent, and just because hierarchically I'm somewhere I'm falling in level 5 or level 6, if I'm denied a seat, and I hate to be in the organization, I try to get out of the organization.
Mm,
So the hierarchy free invitation to be part of the decision table. If at all you are so relevant, if you have the relevant things to offer, yes, you have to be there. It's not that no, you offer everything to your manager, and your manager puts it on a plate and walks into the decision table and presents as if it's his own or her own creativity. I mean creation, and then take the laurels and walk out. No, nobody likes nowadays. So be generous in accommodating your young colleagues who are really ideating for you, who are really creating things for you, who are really constructing the concepts for you, and take them along into the boardroom and give them the all-round experiences. Another thing I would say that the always the the previous generation always used to work for the big brands. Gen Z is not so crazy nowadays. Gen Z is little open to work for smaller brands also, provided they gain all-round experience, right? And they can, because their ability to learn the static things, I mean rigid things, is very fast. Okay, and they want to finish off very rigid, static, non-dynamic things, and then move on to the dynamic things, move on to learning the dynamic things. So this is another aspect which the employer will have to take care.
So, Vijay, nowadays there is an importance. I mean, as a part to build culture, more importance is given for a job rotation. Like where the organization doesn't let the employees to stay in an position for more than 2 or 3 years. So basically, they are trying to give a shift so that they can experience every part of it. So there are chances people in the mid level, maybe people who started in a technical line, can move to a non technical part. Could be handling some part of talent management, or and engineer who work for 5 years can come into HR team, and all those things are there. So however, they would have understood about the organization culture, but not typically on how things work in the new department. So, how do you see this change of job rotation? So, usually the job rotation was different. Few years back, they move from quality team to engineering team. So, engineering team to quality team. That's how it was. Now they are like very open, and they have made it mandatory to move verticals. Many of the, I think, IT organization, as I know, like they are following it. How do you see what are the good and bad pros and cons in it?
I would say the advantages with this is it's a survival thing. I think the more and more you are exposed to, the chances of you to survive during the bad times is very bright. An organization also will gain a lot by reskilling the internal resources. And this is a very bold concept. I would say that in a company where I worked again, we had a very huge generic career growth map or something of that sort. It tells you what does it take a machine operator to go to the level of manufacturing manager, or a quality lab technician to go to the level of HR head of the plant, or something of that sort. So it was providing a crisscross career navigation opportunities, and at every level the experiences, the number of experiences into number of verticals, and the certifications and the required qualifications, everything was well defined. So this will happen only when the organization is growing very fast. The accelerated growth kind of scenario, yes, this will happen. Or else, when the organizations have multiple locations across seas, this will happen. And this is a very age-old concept, I would say that. But traditionally, for want of security, for want of fear of failure, people never used to move from one family to another family. At the best, a finance specialist used to move from finance to commercial, or at the best to marketing. HR guys never used to move out of HR. Okay, and manufacturing to quality, quality to manufacturing, or manufacturing to maintenance. I don't know about IT, but I'm talking about the manufacturing space. Uh, these opportunities were there with big and mid-sized organizations in the past, but it was not well encouraged. I'm
Mm.
happy to know that it's encouraged a lot now. And on the other hand, to learn a new job before you go and really put your hands on used to take a lot more time in those days, and now it's very fast. You can learn just like that, and you can learn what it what basic skills that you need to perform next the aspiring job after you during your free hours also. So therefore, it's very easy for anybody to get a kind of induction, to get a kind of pre-onboarding, hands-on, and go and deliver. It's good, but it has been a very old concept. I would say it was not properly, it was not duly propagated or encouraged, and not optimized for want of various fears and apprehensions.
Okay. So, a great place to work and employer of choice. How is it proportional?
Great place to work is an engagement framework. It's you mean to say GPTW?
Yes,
Or,
yes, yes.
okay, there are many frameworks. Of course, Great Place to Work is a framework, and we have CII employer, CII HR Excellence framework is another framework, and we have TQM framework is another framework. But all the framework no speaks about the leadership credibility. Then it speaks about respect. It speaks about the opportunities, and then finally, before ending up with camaraderie, it speaks about fairness. In TQM, it speaks a lot about results. Maybe in GPTW, it doesn't speak much about results. That's the only difference. When I say results, the results also matter. If you are claiming your organization a great place to work, results do matter a lot. That's the philosophy of HR excellence. I mean, HR excellence is nothing but EFQM model, European Foundation of Quality Medal model. As per that model, uh, results do matter to claim the best place, to claim the EOC employer of choice status. In GPTW, it's not the case.
Mm,
Interestingly, GPTW speaks a lot about leadership credibility,
mm,
walk the talk, or straight answer for straight question,
mm,
and leader taking a front seat in communicating the vision, and leader connect across the levels, and leader navigating through the entire people ecosystem, on and on and on. And GPTW touches a lot about fairness. There are a few blunt statements in GPTW framework survey sheet that about politics, corporate politics, and even backstabbing. There are words like backstabbing. Is your company backstabbing free? On and on. It's very simple and straightforward survey system. But I would say that beyond GPTW, you should worry about results also. I would recommend that GPTW and the EFQM model to be mixed together and considered to be a framework that should be used as a measurement, as a measuring device to assess where are you in the status of no EOC.
yeah. Got it.
Very relevant, I would say. Very relevant. The thing is that we always crave for best scores. The first thing is, unless you hit some 70% or 65%, you are not given a certificate. And thereafter, you'll crave for the positions in, if you're in auto component, where are I want to I want to position myself in top 5 or top 10. If I'm in chemical, I want to be in 1 to 10 ranks. So we crave for positions and we forget after that. But that's not the case in one company, not a big brand, I would say that not so spendthrift organization. We religiously did the feedback presentation to all levels of employees, the GPTW. The GPTW will throw low scoring areas and high scoring areas, right? We have picked, I think there are about 50, 54 elements in it. And we picked top 5 and low 5 and went to them and told, this is what you have rated, and what do you really mean by rating this? And these are the low scoring areas. This is what you rated. What exactly you want us to address in it? So it only enhanced our credibility. And then low salary happened to be a factor always that has been scoring very low ranking. I think some 35%. I am paid fair salary and benefits in my current organization. They will not give you more than 40 45 marks on 100. So unless you these Focus group discussions are reporting back the report to them in small groups, help them to understand our affordability to pay. Because we were supplying to Mahindras, we were supplying to Tatas, we cannot relate ourselves or equate ourselves to the Tata's salaries or Mahindra's salaries. It's very different. And we are supplying one among the 2,500 components to Tata. So we made them realize all these realities, ground realities, and then things started. Then they started thinking from the ground. I would say that it's not. We should not stop with getting big scores, huge scores. Go back and tell them about the low scoring areas also. They really won't mean that they're not criticizing. Nothing wrong in telling upfront that salaries are very low. Really, yes, correct. Probably their neighbor could be from some big company or their family members. Or they must be thinking because we are supplying to Tata's. Yes, Tata is dependent on us. I think Tata is depending on us, so we can demand the price. Probably they could have their experience or their philosophy could have been very different, and it's up to us to go and tell them that first, this is where you are, this is where we are, and this is where they are, and this is the affordability levels. It's a wonderful framework, but it has to be used very carefully and very sincerely, but nothing like it. I would say it has to be added with some results also. The mix of GPTW and EFKM will do wonders.
Okay, it's very interesting. And now there are like many startups that are coming up, and I was also seeing the news. I think this afternoon that we have around 100 startups in India that has been recognized as an you know uh, million or a billion dollar startup. So there was a scroll on it, and yeah, so nowadays startups are like they're coming in this time, this mostly Gen Z people started, and they know the A to Z of branding, and they know what to do. So if you see the bigger organizations, age old organization, traditional organization, they are also adapting to the branding with some percent of revenue allocated to it. There are also organization who's like surviving very decently, and they also wanted to do some part in their branding. So could you throw some light on some cost effective initiatives on being an employer of choice?
Oh, you mean employer of choice? Okay,
Yes.
it doesn't cost much actually to propagate no honest feedback or to allow people to speak up doesn't cost you anything. Only thing is it may cost you a few more rejections. If somebody is hushing up the quality and pushing off the consignments out of factory gate, and obviously it will get returned after a month or two. It will get returned and it will damage reputation. And I don't mean to be a choice of employer. You have to always, I mean, employer of choice. You have to always pay a huge salary. I don't mean so. Have nice frameworks. Have a very robust talent management system, a trustworthy talent management system, talent review system, annual talent review system. Have a very robust, fair PMS, performance management system, and digitalize the whole thing. The digitalization will eliminate bias and eliminate the intervention, unnecessary intervention, and spend some money and iron out your existing processes, existing systems, thereby eliminating the non-value added steps and no roundabouts. And be open and be honest and share the gain. You have to gain the share. When you make profits, you cannot hide yourselves out. The days are changing, and nobody is happy if I tell them that you will get fixed salary, that's it, get out. No, they want to see if someone is with you for 3 years, they want to have some gain out of the profit that you make. Have a nice gain sharing scheme. And all the more decent organizations have the advantage of many senior colleagues, experienced colleagues sitting in, and encourage them to mentor the younger generation, encourage them to download their knowledge, their tacit knowledge, experience knowledge to the younger generation. And in the process, recognize them, give them some certifications, awards, or minor accolades to them. And and all the more, the decent organizations can provide all round opportunities for Gen Z again. Okay. There is no big, there can't be a big risk. The decent organizations are could be mid in size and which can know people by names. I think every manager can count on each other, and every manager knows the strengths of their wards, and providing all round opportunities depending on, I mean, shooting the tastes and passions of the individuals is possible. And there is no it doesn't cost you much. You don't need to spend huge money, but you have to have the systems in place. You have to have the have decent commitments in place. For example, I know the great organizations, some of the great organizations, they fail in inducting people. They fail in decent onboarding people on time. They give them huge cars and send them to multiple locations during their induction time. I'm talking about onboarding, and nobody, obviously half of the times nobody will be there to receive the individual during their onboarding, and someone will come and put the slide and go, someone will say something, and after a month the manager will expect the deliveries. The poor fellow or poor lady or poor gentleman will be fumbling down, will go plummeted. So therefore, institute a mechanism of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days hand-holding process of new on board. There are many things available nowadays. All that the so-called decent organizations will have to do is identify the right people, identify the passionate people in their HR setup, in combination of a few, progressive-minded people from the functions, the technical functions, and involve all these things and ensure that things are in place. I think ironing out systems and having the putting the meaningful systems in place and sincerely driving them through till the end result will do wonders in decent organizations. It doesn't cost huge money. Of course, you have to take care of the optimum salary hike. There is no escape out of it. You can go and tell that we want to position ourselves at 50th percentile, 40th percentile. You have to be shamelessly, you have to declare that, boss. We cannot see any employee will compare that the his or her organization among five better and five lower organizations. Obviously, as an individual, I would like to take some four examples superior, four inferior examples, and compare myself. So use the same formula. As an employer, go and tell them we want to pitch our compensation and benefit at 60th percentile. These are the benchmarkable organizations, and tell them anyway you are going to, when you have to do the benchmarking exercise, the compensation benchmarking exercise, you'll have to do all this. No, go and tell them that this is where we want to pitch. Fine, people accept. While saying so, tell them that these are the added advantages and these are the things that we add value to your career. People will understand.
Okay, okay. So communicate and over communicate sometimes, and then let them know what it is. I think that would be helpful.
Transparency. So decent
Transparent.
transparency. You can't keep everything open. Certain things will have to be. Engine is engine. You cannot keep the engine open all the times. No, the bonnet cannot be kept open all the time. That you. So decent transparency and telling them that this is our position and affordability. No harm in doing that. They'll appreciate and they'll try to be with you for some more time. If they decided to move on because of your transparency, they will somehow, uh, what should I say, it's an emotional trap, I would say. You can trap them emotionally and have them with you for a few more years.
Yes. So, at the end of the session, one last question I wanted to ask you. Communication is a very important role when you onboard an fresher, or when you give an leadership workshop. We emphasize more on the communication, right? So, does proper communication channel or a proper communication flow really helps an organization to be employer of choice. So, how do you buy this idea?
Absolutely. The communication starts, uh, I would say, you have to well define the communication touch points. Hmm? When a recruiter is tapping the mobile or the personal laptop or inbox of a prospect employee, That's the point where the communication starts. So the effectiveness, the better impact should start from there. And thereafter, you have multiple touch points till the prospect employee actually becomes your employee. You have multiple touch points. So the pre-onboarding communication itself will gain you good amount of reputation if it is properly designed and delivered. And if the touch points or the individuals who are owners of those touch points are properly delivering it. And once you are onboarded, again, there are two buckets of communication that the individual will look for. One is the personal communication, like my career, my salary, my growth, and my promotion policy, my leave policy, and my rating, and what is the rating I should get to get my incentive, and what has been the trend in the past. People also would like to know. I would have been promised of 5 lakh incentive, but what has been the trend? What did my predecessor? What was that my predecessor got? All this is one amount of this one bucket of information. So offering this, no harm in offering this, as long as something is so sensitive, no harm is offering this. The other information is the information about the job, the complete job content. The individual would like to have a very clear boundary in the role. Over supervision, no. Overlapping, no. Gray areas, no. And sharing the role, no. And I do the thing, you take the credit, no. So this is very important. And HR will have to, obviously, HR will have to play a very, very clear role in helping the individual understand the boundary and helping the other neighboring colleagues to play within their boundaries. I can get into your boundary unless I'm invited into, right? Other than that, I have no business to enter into. So these are the this is very sensitive communication area. Number two, post induction as you go along, a minor gap in communication is considered by a colleague as disrespect, or I'm being rejected, I'm being cornered, and I'm not liked. And why can't I look for a change? Simple. So earlier, when I was young, we used to stand before the bosses and ask, if at all I'm so bold and no, I'm very courageous fellow, I'll go and ask, sir, I was not invited and I was not looped in this communication. What was that? Can I know? Otherwise, the pain is swallowed and life goes on. Now people quickly make decisions. If you ignore the individual in couple of mails, if somebody is your project manager and if you're not inviting the project manager for a next level equipment buying discussion, that's it. He takes the call. Or if you have a task force to to uh, to develop a new product in your R&D setup, and if you pick couple of them and ignore couple of them in a next level meeting, or at least for a dinner casual meeting, you ignore couple of them under the pretext that they were not accessible, their mobiles are switched off, that's it, they'll take the call. So I would like to say that the communication nowadays has to be seen as a very fair game. Otherwise the gaps in communication will be easily considered by a colleague as an unfair or a very manipulative tool. So we have to be very careful, very cautious in offering all that. So I have experiencing this, no, for past 10 years. I've been experiencing that people come and stand up. See, this is a very small office. I had a great office, big office in my previous organization. What is this? Had I known that this is the size of the office, I wouldn't have taken this offer. I never heard these statements, but I really appreciate them. Rather than sitting in small rooms and cribbing, crying, and causing lot of damage to the content and delivery what they do, they're upfront and telling, "I'll boss, I'll be doing a happy job if you give me a decent office. Otherwise, I think I'm depressed. I'm upset." That's good. So we have to evolve. The HR and the business leaders will have to evolve a very strong framework of the personal communication package, as well as the role and job related communication package, as well as the ongoing communication. There are three things: ongoing communication package. The fourth is when you appreciate, okay, it should be on time. The appreciation should be on time. and much delayed appreciation is denied appreciation. It's a very old proverb. I don't want to repeat it again and again and again. When generations, maybe X or even baby boomers, everybody is now looking at, seeing at, experiencing things on time. Everything is live today, right? Everything is live. And if I send my kid to the shop, and if there is a struggle for him to choose between these two, he puts me on a WhatsApp call and shows the entire thing in the shop.
True.
Ask me, which should I pick? So I'll tell, oh, you pick this, don't pick that. So if he is so fond of buying something, he'll put it on a WhatsApp camera and ask me, so can I take this? Tell your card number or send your card, or go Google Pay the shop gentleman, the cashier,
Mm.
and get it. So things are happening on real time basis, because nothing can happen real time minus 1 second, but at least on real time basis. So the
True.
communication, whatever it could be, should be on real time basis. My views.
Definitely, definitely. So, recently, even I was just reading through an article where they have quoted how communication helps disrupts at various part, and where and what should be transparent, what should be expressive, what not, etc. So I think that has summed up everything. So starting with how security plays an important role in the all different generations to be an employer of choice. On starting with what leaders should acquire, and how one company should be designed, and how real digitalization lies in the implementation of digital tools rather than some random excel. You had given the real life happening aspects. Now company, lot of companies turn to be that they are very good in culture, but lack some digitalization technique, and they are there are also have just broken the ice of the company can still be an high revenue generating one, but still not be an employer of choice. And what is the gap, how it can be evolved? I think most of the Indian companies have this pattern, and I think this would be a very good heads up, especially for an budding professionals like me and the participants, so they know what they have to do and what they should not do. And and you had put it in a very easy way, like generally leaders seems to be like use terms, and it appears to be like a jargon, but you are very clear, and we could just receive whatever you were telling. So thank you so much for joining the session and throwing the light on how to be an employer of choice, and what as an employee we should speak, and we should expect, and all the aspects, covering all those aspects. Thank you so much, Vijay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, S-Rays, for giving me this opportunity once again. So, S-Rays is an organization that offers certification, and also they do an HR consultation for startups, corporates, and mid-scale organizations for certification programs. Please log on to www.srays.in, and also please go visit their social media pages, S-Rays, in the Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Thank you for the opportunity. See you again next month in the Pep Talk Series 6 with another interesting personality. Thank you again, Vijay, for your
Thank
precious
you.
time.
Thanks
Thank
to
you.
the
Thank you.
organization, and thanks, Shokrupa. I enjoyed really. Thank you.
Thank you.